We'd go to these dinner parties, like me and the girl I was with, and I'm like, oh, nice, we're going to go to a dinner party, we're going to meet the other couples, this will be nice. 5 minutes in, people screaming at each other across the table. I'm like, why are you doing that? I had been so focused on ambition, and where had it got me? And I've got all this, like, pressure of having staff and a business to run. I'm like, I just fucking don't want it, leave me alone. I'm single, I'm fat, and I'm skinned. You know, that is truthfully where I got to. And then when we came back, not only had her head been turned, and she wanted this other guy, she'd also kind of, well, she'd lied about stuff we'd said off camera.
At least I now know what you like.
Get out of your comfort zone. If it scares you, it's probably a good thing. I literally was just a bit of a performer when I was a kid, and then got this opportunity to join this tribute band when I was 17. The reality of it is, the band were good. Our manager is just an arsehole. There is no success without failure. We'd be having like deep chats about relationship, about women, about business, about fitness. And we just started saying like, this would make for a good podcast. Then we broke a world record as well. So we did 53 hours non-stop podcasting. Then I had to live in the same house with the girl I was dating, now dating another guy. And I was like, this is bollocks. Like, I nearly walked off the show. I hope I do a good take for you.
Thanks for coming on, Matt. Welcome down south, yeah?
Yeah, I'm bringing the northern charm to you southerners. I'm making the south a nicer place, because we all know us northerners are nicer.
You lot are so friendly.
Yeah, we actually are. Do you actually see that?
Yeah, everyone says it from down south as well. When you go up Manchester, everyone's like, people talk to each other in the streets.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you walk past someone, they say hello.
I'm actually glad you guys are agreeing with that, because I only have to fight over this, because they're like, no, we're not. But yeah, I'm actually shit scared, actually. You've got your director guy here. He's got us telling me, he's taking my phone off me. Like, you're telling me, I've got to hold my mic like this. I'm actually like, oh shit, I feel like I'm on a big movie set. So yeah, thanks for having us. I hope I do a good take for you.
Yeah, sure. So we're doing a little bit of digging to see what you've been doing, what you've been up to over the years. And to be honest with you, you've done a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah, I think that's one thing like I talk about with a lot of people. I think people very quickly put themselves in a box. You know, I think people are like, oh, I'm a teacher or I'm a whatever. And then they live their life by that identity that we're given. And that's what we do in society, right? And I just think one thing for me is I don't even know what to call myself anymore. When people are like, what are you doing?
What's your profession?
I don't really know. I'm just a guy that likes to take opportunities and do my best. Like that's it. So because of that, yeah, I've been in some weird and wonderful situations. I don't know which you want to explore, but there's...
Your most recent venture, and obviously where people may recognise you from, is the new TV programme that you've just come off. So it's just finished airing, isn't it? It's just
literally,
finished the last episode. Yeah. Love Triangle.
That's right, yeah.
So yeah, tell us a bit more about that.
That was not what I expected it to be. We were told it was going to be a wholesome, nice dating show. It turned out to be about as toxic as dating shows get. Because I think I was probably a little bit naive in that we all know telly is going to be TV. They want to make good TV. And unfortunately, the British public, and well, I guess just the public, like drama. They like people falling out and stuff like that. So the whole concept, we were told, is just you will be matched with someone who is like your perfect girl. You'll go on a date, and then after that, you'll get to live together. And I was like, all right, that's a little bit extreme. But it was like, it's going to be quite wholesome, and it's just a bit of a social experiment to see if you live together 24/7 without the distraction of going to work or seeing friends or whatever. Will that amplify and accelerate the dating process?
It's like maths, really.
Similar to Married at
Really
First
similar.
Sight.
Well, it's by the same producers, right?
Like
so it's
what,
the
sorry?
same.
Maths.
Married at First Sight.
Sight.
Yeah, that's the lingo if you watch reality TV. No, I did that. No, because when I filmed it, I'd never watched
I've clearly watched it, mate. That's
You
the,
have,
that's the
haven't you?
code word, you know?
The code of that's the lingo.
If you're obviously not in the know,
yeah. Which is not a bad thing. Let me just tell you now.
You can leave now, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so I didn't watch any of that kind of stuff until I'd finished filming. And I was like, oh, I get it now. Because we'd go to these dinner parties, like me and the girl I was with. And I'm like, oh, nice, we're going to go to a dinner party. We're going to meet the other couples. This will be nice. 5 minutes in, people screaming at each other across the table. I'm like, why are you doing that? That's not normal behaviour, right?
Yeah.
Then you watch Married at First Sight and you go, oh, okay, this is what they do. I get it.
It always kicks off at the dinner parties.
Drama.
That's the
How
best
do they stir the pot?
Well, in our show,
Do they like whisper in people's ear like, "Oh, she said this about you"?
a little bit. Yeah, there is a little bit of that. There is. I mean, everything you see when you watch a show like that is people, genuinely going through it with real emotion and, you know, what we say and what we do is obviously ours. There's a bit of artistic license, I guess, in the way it's edited sometimes, but it is quite genuine in that. But yes, you do have a team of producers that are like, how did you feel about that? And did you notice they said that about you? Well, you know, they're planting seeds that can then be the catalyst for a massive kickoff, and often is.
Genuine question, right? So, I haven't actually watched it, but I watched Married at First Sight and the dinner parties and that, and then they have the dinner parties, and then throughout the dinner parties, you'll be interviewed throughout it.
Yeah.
So do they just take you away around?
Yeah.
So it's like weird. Do they pick you one by one and just go away, or do they have breaks?
No, they literally, they call it in the business, or they called it on our show, an OTF, which means on the fly. So they'll just be like, Matt, can we grab you? You need to go and do your OTF now.
How do you feel about what just happened?
And then they will just go through it like, and you were saying this, so, you know, how do you feel? And
are you going to take that?
Yeah.
I'll take you to the pun.
Is
there any other ways that they try to get you in the most emotional state possible? Like I've heard, for example, on X Factor, where they wake you up at 2 a.m. and make you do challenges, so that in the morning you're just tired and then you're going to break down and cry. Do they do anything
so
like that?
It wasn't quite like that, but I think the context that gets missed is when you're doing that, you're filming every day. You don't have access to your phone, the internet, your family, your friends, like the normal world, basically. So that in itself is a bit of a mental weird thing to live with. And then we used to, when we'd finish filming on a night or whatever, we used to have a curfew. And it was like, you can go off, but we need to know exactly where you are, and you need to be back at this time, which I was fine with. I followed the rules for most of it. But then towards the back end of the show, people who've watched it will know it didn't go in my favour. I basically got rejected on reality TV. Brilliant. And then I had to live in the same house with the girl I was dating, now dating another guy. And I was like, this is bollocks. Like, I nearly walked off the show a couple of times at that point. So at that point, I'd be like, I'm not going back at 9 p.m. I'm off out, and I'm having a drink. And so I'd be out, and they would just be like going mad at you, like, you should have been back at 9 o'clock. I'm like, I'm a 31-year-old man. I am going out till midnight. Like, do you know what I mean? And it was stuff like that. You would find yourself going, the days are tough. The filming is tough. What you're doing to us is mentally draining. And then at the end, you're telling me I can't just go out and have a drink for a couple of hours. Do you know what I mean? It was stuff like that I found it got a bit much towards the end.
When you say go out, so was you allowed out to the general public to a
but you didn't have your own phone on you. They gave you what they call a production phone. Right, so it's like only certain numbers and all the rest of it. But they would say, like, after you finish filming, if you want to go for a drink or some food or whatever, just let us know where you're going, which is fine. But then when it's all going to shit and you haven't got your friends, you haven't got family, I'm like, mate, if I want to come back at 11 o'clock, I'm not a child. But I also get it. They've got a duty of care, and it was just a weird headspace. The whole environment that you're in when you're doing something like that is not normal, and it does play tricks with your mind, kind of.
How long did you film for?
Just over a month.
So a month without your phone the whole time?
Yeah.
Really? What? That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's mad. I just couldn't imagine. I can't go without my phone for a podcast,
Do
mate.
you know what? That side of it in some ways was quite refreshing.
Yeah. You don't have to think about it.
Yeah. But I tell you what was interesting, because I remember thinking at the time, all right, this will be interesting to see how to live life basically like the 90s again without the internet and stuff. Yeah. And I was like, that's probably quite a good thing from a mental health perspective. And I thought, I wonder how things will be back, like how things will be when I readjust to the normal world. And what was shocking is within half an hour of being back, it was just back to business. It wasn't like, actually, I don't need my phone now. I've lived without it for a month, which I thought it might have been. It wasn't. You just go straight back to it, back to addiction.
Yeah. It's so ingrained in you because, you know, you've done a month without, but you've done, 30-something years with, living that normal life.
Well, not even that. I mean, as kids, like, you're a similar age to me. Like, we didn't have them as kids, right?
No,
like,
true.
So, but it's just the way they're designed are so addictive, and, it is a real problem, I think, for most of us.
TikTok algorithm is
it's got you, mate.
Just designed to, isn't it? Literally that.
And I'm quite good at most of the time. I'm not too bad on TikTok. I don't, but when I do get in those rabbit holes, and do you know when it gets you? It gets you when you're down already. You probably should be cracking on with something. You've got a big to-do list, and then you think, let me just go on TikTok for a few minutes, then I'll get started, and that's it, mate. No,
dangerous
dopamine. It's a dopamine rush. It's like you want that before you actually start.
But even when I come off it, when I then close the app, if I've been scrolling for 15 minutes, I close the app. I go to do a task, I just feel less productive. I don't feel like my headspace is correct. Like,
and the thing is, social media generally as a concept is still so new, really. So I think like the real repercussions and consequences of living like this, we don't know yet. You know, it's only gonna, as kids are growing up now, literally they come out the womb and boom, they've got a phone in front of them. Like, how does that affect you?
I think it definitely creates like more anxiety. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
With even children, get anxiety, whereas you probably wouldn't even hear that word as a kid.
Exactly.
Maybe ADHD you would, but now, a lot of it.
Have you struggled with anything like that? Any mental health or anxiety issues? Obviously, being in the limelight on TV shows can be tough. If you,
Do you know what's interesting? The TV show coming out, I feel like desensitized. I think like when you go out on a platform that big, you kind of just see it for what it is, and you're just like most of it's been really lovely. Like a lot of people just saying you see like such a genuine guy, like really positive stuff. Quite a few DMs from nice fit birds, which is quite nice. So overall positive.
Worth doing then.
So definitely worth it. But the other side is I've been called every name under the sun. Like I would say it's 80% really positive, 20% really negative. But you just think if you're going out in front of millions of people, you just think the amount of differences people have in life experiences, personality, what people like, you can't be liked by everyone. Nobody can. So I think on that level, it's been really nice to just go, oh, actually, I really don't care. And I think it's the same with the good and the bad. Just take it all with a pinch of salt. What really matters is the people that know you, that you love, like what's their opinion? Value that. And I think it's an interesting lesson for everyone, whether you're on reality TV or not. Just remember that you cannot be liked, loved, accepted by every single person on the planet, and that is okay. But back to your question about like mental health. So I feel like now I'm cool. It's good. People can say what they want about me. I know me. The people who know me, and that's all that matters. But I was probably about 27 when I got to a point where I'd always been so ambitious. Like set up my first company when I was 19. Before that, I'd been in like acting classes since I was like 8 or 9. Like as a kid, competing to do roles on telly. I had spent all my childhood being ambitious, and then I got to this point at 27. I had a breakup with my girlfriend at the time. Like we'd been together nearly 7 years, and I just thought I'd never gone out, I'd never partied, you know, on weekends and I never went to uni. I never did that life, and I was just work, so ambitious. And I was always in my head like, you idiots, like in a nightclub getting pissed. I was like, I'm building something for the future. But then I got to 27. And I actually hadn't made that money. It had been a business that had taken up a lot of time. It was a lot of make money, spend money, make money, you know, reinvesting all the time. And then this relationship broke down. I'd put on a bit of weight. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm nearly 30. I'm not married. I've not got kids. I'm not a millionaire. Like, all these things that we think when we're 17, oh, I'll be a millionaire by 30. I'll be married, 3 kids. You know what I mean? None of that had happened. So that is when I would say I went to that for the first time I understood this thing about mental health. I was one of those guys that's like, what's everyone on about anxiety, mental health? I'm like, just get on with it. Like, just keep going. And it was a real pivotal moment where I was like, I never was suicidal, but I remember that clear feeling of, I'm not bothered if I wake up tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? I was never like, I'm going to kill myself. I can't say I was there. But I was like, I'm just not bothered. And I basically went one extreme to the other. The original extreme was work all the time, 7 days a week. Then the next extreme was, let's go to the clubs, let's party, get in at 6 a.m. It was, I had a business, but I didn't really want it. I remember going into the office a few times, still pissed from the night before. Just like, I don't really want to be here. I'm not interested in entrepreneurship.
Like the compound effect of just going backwards, right? Like just when you do bad habits, you end up doing more bad habits.
Just
I'm doing this, I might as well do this, and then it just goes worse.
Yeah, but I also think I had a lot of regret. Like I had been so focused on ambition, and where had it got me? That's where the headspace was. I'm single, I'm fat, and I'm skinned, and I've got all this like pressure of having staff and a business to run. I'm like, I just fucking don't want it. Leave me alone. Do you know that is truthfully where I got to. And that's when I really delved into learning about, initially after a lot of nightclubs, I then started going, right, what is this self-development thing? Because neither of those extremes was the answer. Like working all the time is not the answer, partying all the time is not the answer, so what is? And that's when I started to learn a lot more about mental health, self-development, and just figuring out this life journey. And I also think it's important to say, it's an ongoing journey a day. You know, you see a lot of people on these podcasts or on TikTok, and it's like, you need to be more like me. I've got all my shit figured out. Like, newsflash, nobody has. It's an ongoing process. We're always learning. You go through different life stages. Your values change, you know, from starting your business to having a business for 5 years, 10 years. You're going to have different experiences, different wants, different needs, different work pace. When you become a dad, I'm not one yet, but I'm sure, again, your values change. So I think it's really important to say, look, when it comes to mental health, it's just about, it's about recognizing where you are and what your expectations are right now, not judging it on what everybody else is saying or what everybody else thinks is right. It's about, it sounds a bit cheesy, but doing the inner work and learning a bit more about yourself. And that's kind of what I did.
Just about like what other people are saying. So when you finished on the Love Triangle, obviously you're then waiting for it to be aired. So the first episode gets aired.
Yeah.
Did you sit there and watch it?
I did a screening where I had about 80 people watching it with me in a nightclub.
Oh.
That was,
wow.
a bold
And then
move.
did like your social media and your phone kind of just blow up and you started getting a lot more hate, a lot more love? How was that?
So immediately it was a lot of love. Because a lot of people just like, oh, he's such a gentleman, like, what a nice guy.
I suppose the series goes on and then
It takes you on a
different
roller
things start
coaster.
happening. Yeah, because your opinion can change from
About someone.
for people. Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, we've watched reality TV and your opinion in the first episode, I hate them, I don't like them, and you actually really start to like them.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, look, generally overall, I was lucky. I think I held myself well. I was true to myself. I didn't really do anything particular that I regret, because even stuff I'd reflect on and be like, I could do that better. But I'm like, but I was in the moment and that's how I felt at the time. But there was one point where it was episode 7 where that's where it started to maybe divide some people a little bit more on me, because we had been taken away for over a week while the girl I was with dated another guy, basically, and we had no contact. And then when we came back, not only had her head been turned and she wanted this other guy, she'd also she'd lied about stuff we'd said off camera. And that I was just, and this was all on camera, I was just in disbelief. I think I said it about 100 times. I was like, you're lying. I can't believe you're a liar. And it was so cringe watching it back. That episode was a hard watch. Like, seeing you have a dispute with someone and both of you hurting genuinely.
It's horrible being called a liar when you're not a liar. Like,
she fucking was.
No, I mean, because she was saying you were lying.
No, I was saying she. Oh, well, yeah, I guess she was denying it.
She was denying
that
you had said that. And
Yeah.
she's basically calling you a liar.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's probably why you reacted with so much emotion.
It was like just absolute shock and disbelief. I was like, I can't believe you're really going to stick to this.
Say that.
And be adamant.
Yeah.
And probably a lot
I
of
watched
people.
some of the clips and some of it was like, you'd said like you'd loved each other or something.
That was it,
Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And obviously...
Then she
when
was denying
said,
it.
No, we never said that.
She was saying, I just said it. And I was like, what? That's
what I'm saying. You're being called a liar. So that's
Yeah.
your reaction is like heat. Yeah.
And what people won't know, I don't think I've said this on a podcast before, but what that relationship that ended after 7 years, prior, similar thing happened where it was a lot, I won't go into it, but she really did lie about a few stuff. And when I was on the show looking Jazz in the eye, I just almost saw, like, you've got that same look on your face of you're happy to play along with this lie. So it was almost like kind of bringing up that past trauma, if you like.
Forget the cameras are there.
No, you're always aware. I think if someone's like, oh, you just forget the cameras there, like, mate, there's 7 cameras around you. Are you blind? Like, if you're blind, fair enough. But yeah, you don't forget.
And other people as well.
You don't forget.
Loads of people around.
A whole crew of 30 to 50 people there.
How does that feel dating with so many people just
horrendous? This is what I'm saying. So having
cringe,
a dispute, knowing people are watching it, and then having an opinion, and then people are questioning, is he lying? Is she? That was awful. But actually, the very first day was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, because we hadn't seen each other's. So the whole thing was you text each other anonymous, like you can't see each other, you can't hear their voice. So if you boys think, like, if you go to the first ever date with a girl, even if you've seen them online, you can still be a bit like, oh, like, does she really look like how I think? Will she think I look different in person? There's a little bit of nerves, right, when you've seen them for the first time. But we don't even know what each other looks like.
Picture.
We've had nothing. So that in itself's nerve-wracking. The second thing is, I've then walked into the restaurant where the first date is, and there's a crew of 50 people, all these cameras. And then the third thing is, You know when you walk in a restaurant and there's people like eating, doing their own thing, music on? Silence.
Oh.
I'm in a restaurant with probably about 40 like extras in the background pretending to eat, miming, talking. So in total, there's best part of 100 people in silence watching you and a girl meet each other first time. Like,
And they're all listening to everything.
listen. And my nan's gonna watch it in a few months' time.
This guy got game.
Do you know, like, yeah. And I
That's
didn't.
pressure.
I didn't.
You didn't?
I was just. And the thing that put me off is while we was texting, she was like, "I'm really nervous," blah blah blah. So in my head, I was like, "That's fine. Like, I'll look after you. We'll have fun." I'm like being the guy protector, provide whatever. And then we get some on the date, and she's just full of confidence. So my one thing was, I just want to make sure like she's okay and like she doesn't need to worry.
You're all right.
And she was like, "All right," and I'm like, "Oh shit, you're dead confident. Now I'm nervous. I don't know what to say." And it was just horrible. Yeah.
What about obviously what they sold to you in terms of the experiment, which is kind of like, I'm guessing, a bit of nonsense anyway, but the more intense dating, you see it on these programs like Love Island or Maths, or whatever it's called.
See, it's learned one thing to me at least.
After a week, they're saying, "Oh, I love you," and they're getting so emotional over this relationship. And
Yeah, that was me,
From
just so
the
you know.
TV side, you're thinking, you're thinking
What a
that's
knobhead.
bollocks.
Yeah.
Like, you've known each other a week,
Yeah.
but actually, in the moment, is it 10 times more intense, and it feels like you've known them for a year or
100%. I think like this has been one of my only frustrations. Really, is people going, "Why are you so bothered? Like, grow up. You've only known her a few days." Like, if you think if you go on a normal date, you might see that girl for 3 or 4 hours that night, have some food, drinks, whatever. Then you leave. Then you go home. Then you speak to your friends. Next day you go to work. You do a full day. Like, you're living your life, right, while you're dating that girl. We literally had nobody. We had me and her in a house with a crew filming us. Day and night, 24 hours a day for 10 days. Now, that level of intensity, if you really get on with a girl, and we did get on really well, very quickly, if you get on with someone and you spend a full day just you and her chilling at a house, that's going to progress pretty quickly, right? Then do that again the next day, and again the next day, and again. Do you know what I mean? And again, like holiday romances can feel like that, but you've got the boys, you've got mate. We had nothing. So by day 10, that's, I think, and we've spoke about this, a few of us in the cast, like, it's kind of like where you'd be at 5-6 months into a
So
relationship.
you've done 240
Fast
hours.
track, isn't
it?
Yeah, that's 10 days,
that's
24
a lot.
hours. So do 240 hours in a normal outside world relationship. That's probably a good, like
Sometimes you
6-month
wouldn't see
relationship.
your girl for a week or whatever, wouldn't you?
That's
like,
it.
literally, because you might see them the weekend. It's crazy, all at once.
So we've gone through everything, and then at that point, they bring in another guy that is her type, and they move me off to another building.
But did you get to go with another girl or not?
No.
That's brutal.
I was just literally an option, and I'm just sat there like, what do I do
What
now
did you do
then?
for the week then?
Well, so they still filmed us for that second bit, and basically because there was 6 of us that had been in couples that then got taken to this other place,
put with them?
and there was a relationship that blossomed then between 2 of them. But for me, I mean, that's one of the best things that came out of the show for me. That was the week where I just made some of the best mates,
Yeah,
and like it's a year since we finished filming, and we're still mates. Like,
Oh,
I'm
wow, is that
seeing them
ages
tonight,
ago?
a couple of them, yeah.
Oh, crazy.
So that was a real like
How
positive.
does it work? I'm really interested in like the legalities behind them telling you this is what you're filming for and this is the show.
Oh, mate, you're
'Cause
signing
I
mad
assume you have to
contracts.
sign a contract, right?
Yeah, and it's about a
You do
million
it.
pages as well.
So then you just flick through it.
I ain't read any of
But
it. I'm probably in loads of
Do
trouble.
you reckon in the small print in there that it says like, by the way,
Yeah.
we're gonna extract you? And
I can remember the main bit, like, because I did read it. So it was working title they put was Love Match instead of Love Triangle. So that was the first big thing that we thought we was just doing a nice show, and that was the title. And it said something like, I'm paraphrasing, but something like, you know, an exciting, a wholesome dating show or something like that, with exciting surprises. So that's
these
open to
producers are
interpret.
wankers,
Yeah.
aren't they? That is such a. Like,
I mean, what's an exciting
brutal.
surprise? What you think's exciting, I might hate. Do you
There's
know what I mean?
probably a clause in there that says like, you know, we reserve the right to do pretty
Whatever
much
we want.
whatever the
Take
fuck
your
we want.
soul. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
And they
definitely
did.
signing it away.
Yeah.
So were you applying for like different shows? How did you end up going?
No,
on there?
never. No, they came to me. It wasn't something I was looking for. Because people ask, like, why did you do it? And did you genuinely think you'd find love and things like that? And the honest truth is, I was open to finding love, yeah. And that was my main reason for doing it. Because I was single. At this point in my life, I was like, my business is doing well. I'm earning decent money. Like, I'm happy with most areas. Like, I have a decent following online. I don't need to go on there for fame and fortune. That wasn't what I needed. I was like, my dating life's a bit shit, and I'm struggling, like, early 30s, single, like, to find what I'm looking for. And I always say, like, from a coaching perspective, when I'm working with clients on sort of like mindset and life coaching and some of that stuff, I always say, like, the thing you're most nervous about and struggle with, you've got to lean into that. You've got to, get out of your comfort zone. If it scares you, it's probably a good thing. So it's kind of like practice what you preach, Matt. Like, this is an ultimate test. Get yourself out there.
So how did they find you? So you said you had quite a following on social media.
Yeah.
What was that from?
So, well, different stuff I've done over the years. Obviously, I've got my podcast, the Take That tribute band that we were chatting about earlier. I'd done since I was 17. So we'd built a big following, like a bit of a fan group from that as well. Like our Facebook page, I think has 20-odd thousand followers.
About Take That.
Yeah, no, you get it, yeah.
I missed that part.
No,
Making a cup of tea. So,
so when I was 17...
He's done his research.
As you can tell, yeah. Do you even know my name yet?
I thought we were just talking about Take That song.
Yeah.
They were singing to each other.
Yeah. I thought it was a bit weird.
We just fell in love with it.
He's offered me a job.
No, he actually could do a good mark. He's got the long hair, which is who I play.
That's funny.
So I want to understand the business kind of the process behind that. So how old are you when you started that?
Right, yeah. So I literally was just a bit of a performer when I was a kid, and then got this opportunity to join this tribute band when I was 17. And the reality of it is the band were good. Like, the lead singer who plays Gary Barlow is just like Gary. He talks like him and everything. And we were getting some amazing bookings, but our manager was just an arsehole. Like, he was just an old school bully, and he was just money orientated, and we wanted to leave. But we was like, but we've got a good job here, and we know we're good at what we do. We've got a fan base. And I was just like, well, I'll just buy us some speakers and I'll be our manager, kind of thing. I was never necessarily like entrepreneurial or wanting to be a business owner. What I was is someone who was happy to take risks, open to opportunity, and would throw myself into something. And that is what ultimately was the start of a business for me. So it was about 18 months or so after I joined.
An accidental business.
Yeah. And I think it's an interesting topic to talk about, because obviously being a business owner / entrepreneur now compared to 10 years ago, 20 years ago has evolved massively. And I don't think there is any one size fits all. When we talk about like side hustles and things like that, then that's cool to have a couple of side hustles. And does that mean you're not a business owner? Well, yeah, you're running a business. You're still kind of entrepreneurial. You've got different things running. But you're not Richard Branson. But there's no right or wrong. You know what I mean? You're still entrepreneurial. So for me, I just saw this opportunity. I'm 19, bought us the speakers and what have you, and eventually went on to buy us a van. And then actually I started dating a girl who was a really good singer. She went on X Factor and stuff, and she was in a band. But they weren't making any money. They were trying to make it as themselves. And it might have even been a dad that was like,
you guys making money?
As a tribute, yeah. Because obviously when you're performing at weddings and festivals, which we do, it's good money, like being a tribute and a good tribute. So I think the dad was like, look, while you're trying to pursue this thing of making it as a real band, this is to the girls, why don't you do a tribute where you bring in the money? So I think we started them off with Girls Aloud and Spice Girls or whatever, and we said we'd manage them, we bought them costumes. Basically, long story short, I ended up with, we were an agency and a management, and across the board, we've now got over 500 acts that we now represent, and it just grew organically. And now, we've got a full team of staff and offices and dance studios, rehearsal space. But I got into business just by taking it one opportunity at a time, and truthfully, just making loads and loads of mistakes. Like hiring the wrong people, having to let them go, making a bit of money, losing money. It was just a very organic learn as you go. And I do think there's a lot to be said for that, learning through experiences. When there's all these mentors trying to teach you this course and sell you this, sell you that. And a lot of people say, well, if you haven't been to university and studied business and marketing, there's a place for that, of course. But I also think we sometimes put it too much on a pedestal, and people think, well, if I've not got all those qualifications, who am I to run a business? And I think a lot of the time, the best way of learning is just by getting it wrong. You won't do that again, right?
Yeah, we literally, our last podcast, all we talked about was
losses
and
mistakes.
Was it? Yeah.
made, but like, it's
Mistakes
all to
and
learn,
risks.
you know.
Yeah.
You just get.
And I do think, I know it's a cliche thing that's said a lot about like failure is just feedback. But you boys must agree, it is so true. Like, there is no success without failure.
Yeah.
You have to fail your way to succeed. Like, every time you fail, all it is a way of going, oh, yeah, shit, that doesn't work how I thought, but now I know. Let's try this. So I think you have to be a risk taker. You have to be comfortable with getting it wrong and not letting that destroy you. So, yeah, I've failed loads, basically.
But now you're up to 500 different tribute
Approximately, yeah. I don't even know the current number. It might be more, it might be a bit less.
Yeah, wow.
Some might have left
that's
us.
That's a big company. How many? You got quite a few staff that are helping out with.
So, yeah, we've got 4 full-time now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's just like a bit of a...
Up and down the country.
And abroad.
So do you guys just get phone calls and go, oh, listen, we want to book Elvis?
Yeah.
You go, oh, I know 5 Elvises. Which one's you want?
Yeah, I think we know 15, actually. But yeah. Basically, yeah. But the acts, I mean, we've had acts go to India, Dubai. We've had acts go, like, in my band, we've performed at, like, a festival to, one of the biggest ones were 25,000 people in Germany. Like, that was amazing. And we've been, like, Barcelona.
That's a buzz, isn't it?
Yeah.
Performing in front of that many people.
Yeah. People always ask, like, are you nervous, like, when there's 25,000 people looking at you? And I say, no, I'd be nervous doing a gig in a pub with 7 people looking at me. That's the nerve-wracking gig. When there's 25,000 people and you're just up there with your boys doing what you do, it's just
That's
fun.
a fucking buzz, yeah.
It's just amazing.
That must have been crazy.
Yeah.
5,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, people would like, and I understand it, people, like, look down their nose at tribute acts and, like, why would you do that? But for me, especially when I started, I was 17, getting to do gigs in front of loads of birds screaming at you.
Throwing their bras on
getting
stage.
paid. Yeah, you don't want that now. Some of the bras are questionable, let's just say. But yeah, like, it was like living the dream kind of thing.
Rock
You know
star.
what I mean? Kind of. Not, I mean, not quite. Being a fake take that, it's not quite rock star. But yeah, it was a good job. And then it's evolved into a great company.
Have you just concentrated on that business, or have you found yourself kind of looking at different businesses?
So that's evolved now. So the original company was Tribute Acts Management, which is still running. We've now got MLH Entertainments, which is basically doing what we did there, but with every other kind of type of entertainment. So we've got DJs, we've got lookalikes, we've got after dinner speakers, you know, anything you can imagine at a live event, we now provide. So that evolved. In addition to that, obviously, then I went down the route of starting my podcast, Success School, which then grew into me getting qualified into doing sort of more life coaching, which has then evolved into online courses, my membership. So just kind of, I guess, although those early 5-6 years were a lot of learning through getting it wrong, then through doing that, you start to go, actually, I've got stuff I can help people with here.
Well, yeah, that's
You
it.
know what I
Obviously, you were saying, obviously, you got to the point of when you were, was it 27?
About 26, 27,
when
I
you
think.
split up with your missus.
Yeah.
And you was like, oh, I've got nothing, you know, but what you did have was shitload of experience.
Load of experience, exactly.
Yeah. And obviously, it's paid you now. It's only taken you, like Luke said earlier, compound effect.
Yeah.
It's only taking you now, 4-5 years to, get 10 times ahead of where you was previous to that.
Yeah, it's like that compound effect, like you say, innit? And I think the biggest thing for me is whenever, like we were talking about that time where it was like I was at the low and all the rest of it, and I know, you hear this said a lot, but they are the biggest teachers those times, the lows. Like, you don't really learn much from a win, right? When it's all going gravy and everybody's happy and it's going easy, what is there to learn in that? It feels nice, but it is actually those tough times, those mistakes, those failures where you learn the most, and that's the experience that pays you forward.
Yeah, and to stop you making those mistakes again, right?
I hope so. I don't want to go through that again. Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
What's your main focus now, or how's your time split between your different ventures?
What's great for me now is I have an amazing team. So what that enables you to do, and obviously you have to get to a place a lot of the time. That's not something you have at the start. What it enables me to do is be quite flexible. I think one of the things I've learned about my personality type is I love variety. I'm not, some people just love like routine and structure and do the same thing on repeat. I like a little bit of that, but predominantly I like variety. So for me, all like how I spend my week is a bit of everything. So a bit of like doing the coaching, the membership. I love doing the podcast. I just love getting to really learn about people and learn from them and meet great people in general. I love being on podcasts like days like this are great. I still gig with the band sometimes and pretend I'm a pop star, which is good fun, doing those big gigs and stuff. And then just the day-to-day running my business. So it really is, and that works for me, right? That wouldn't work for everybody. And I also like just got an agent now, so looking for potentially doing bits more TV as well. And I think, going back to what we were saying earlier about the early days, I've been really ambitious. Right now, I am probably the least ambitious I've ever been, but in a really good way. Like, I don't need X amount of money or whatever. I've done a load of different stuff. I've made good money. Like, right now where I'm at is, am I enjoying it? Am I doing stuff that actually feels valuable, that makes a difference to people, or is just fun? Like, it doesn't all need to be that serious of what is your purpose? And, you know, like we hear all the time. Some of it, I do. There's nothing better than being able to help someone and them genuinely being like, oh, Matt, that was amazing, thank you. But equally, some of it's just fun. Like, I'm being at some cool events, I'm putting on my own events, networking, and I just enjoy that stuff. So there is no big like vision anymore like there used to be, and that works for me now in this season.
Do you feel like the TV stuff, obviously saying that's potential in the future, so the love triangle hasn't put you off?
It's put me off doing any more of that rubbish.
Reality TV.
What sort of stuff would you potentially like to do if you got the opportunity?
I think for me it'd be more like bits of presenting.
Okay.
And I know that's not easy to get into, but I think when I started my podcast in 2019, I was rubbish at interviewing. I don't know what you guys think, and I don't know if it's maybe a different dynamic having 3-4 of you. But just as one person interviewing, you feel like you've got to have like 7 different brains working at the same time. You've got to truthfully listen to what they're saying and respond, but you've also got to have a direction you're going to take them. But then if they go a different way, you've got to be able to go with that direction. I think it's a real skill, being able to be good at interviewing. When I started, I was awful. I mean, other people say, Matt, you weren't that bad. In my opinion, I was not great. And I just kept going. And then I got an opportunity to be on a live TV daytime show called Steph's Packed Lunch, which was on Channel 4. And I did that for 18 months. I was on like a tiny bit in the show. But being on set around people who were experts at interviewing live, you know, in front of loads of people, I just used to like take little bits and I'd be like, oh, I can see why she did that and how she did that link. And then I'd be doing my podcast the next day and I'd nick that little idea. And bit by bit over the last few years, I'm like, do you know what? I'm all right at this now. I wouldn't say I'm amazing, but I'm all right. I can do it. And I like it. I enjoy it. So I think that'd be more the telly I'd want to do.
What advice would you give to people presenting, doing podcasts, media, etc.? Yeah, I mean, just us, to be fair, in general.
I would
people that are thinking about going on reality TV, that's another one.
Oh man, that's about 25 questions, that, because they're different
Start
things.
with us and the podcast.
So podcast, right? First thing I would say is not everybody can do it, and if you want to do it, why do you want to do it? I think that's important. I love your boy's answer when we were speaking before we started recording about we genuinely just love meeting people, learning from people. It's a great way to network. It's not about, oh, we want to make loads of money or be famous or anything like that. So I think like have the right reason to do it is really, really important, because the podcasting game is probably harder than it looks, right? It costs money, takes a lot of time, you know, so you've got to want to do it for the right reasons. Then the second bit is, not everyone's going to be great at it, but also that's not a reason to give up straight away. Like if you really want to do it and you're doing it for the right reasons, keep going, keep trying, keep learning. And I would say like genuinely be interested in people. I think I'll be completely transparent. There was times where I was first starting where I'd want to come across a certain way and I'd have to make sure I was saying certain things. And I think you've got to lose that. You've got to be vulnerable and open enough to just go, I actually just want to have a conversation, because I think that's what works in podcasts. People listen because it's like a fly on a wall of just listening in to the real unedited, raw chat. Warts and all, mistakes and all, you know, if you stumble. I think you've got to be really, it takes for some people a lot to get to that level of being comfortable to just be themselves. And then just what we were saying there about, but you've also got to keep your brain going. You've got to be doing that, but you've got to, because you don't want those dry patches where they finish something early, your guest like stops talking and you go, oh, I wasn't ready for that, and then awkward. But I think it's like anything, innit? You've got to practice it. You've got to keep doing it. It takes time. if you want to do it, just don't quit, really.
There's a lot of trial and error in it. That's what we found, I think, from when we first started the first episode compared to...
Yeah, I just hate the cameras, you know, just there having a conversation. You've got a guest, so you're trying to you don't want to fuck up in front of them because you don't want to look a dickhead. And then you've got all these cameras, you overthink it a lot. Now they're just there.
You don't notice
things
them.
will be edited out, it's not.
Well, thank God for that. I've said a load of shit today. No, but it's true, and people don't get how intimidating it can be having 3 cameras on you, people behind the cameras, the lights. I always go really red under the lights, and and all that kind of stuff. So it's about. You've got to keep doing it to start to get somewhat comfortable with it. And that might take time, but yeah, I would just say, don't quit.
How many episodes have you done?
The exact number, I don't know. We're well over 200 now, so we've done a fair few.
What sort of views do you get or listens on the podcast now?
So one thing that's consistent is on the YouTube, it's like 300-ish around there. But then if you get a certain guest and certain things just pop, you can do. I mean, we've done... I don't even know, hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube we've had.
If you get even like 300 views, is 300 people just watched your
people
video,
forget
you know
that.
What I mean? Like, even 50 views is 50 people. Imagine if you had 50 people in this room
in
right
a room
now that you're speaking to. 50 people is a lot of people.
I'm glad you've said that.
Week.
I think a lot of people now, because we see our like Stephen Bartlett's and Gary V's of the world, and we watch them with their millions, and then you start and you might get 20 views. And eventually, if you're lucky, you might get 200, 300, whatever. And people are like, there's such a distance between you and Stephen Bartlett. But it's like, Stephen Bartlett, Gary Vee are like 0.0001%. They're doing their thing. But like you say there, 300 people engaged week in, week out, listening to you and your message and buying into you and supporting you is massive.
Yeah.
And I just think that vanity metric of, well, I'm nobody unless I've got 100,000 downloads. Like, we've got to be mindful of that, really.
Have you started monetizing yet from YouTube?
Never have. I am probably going to in the next 12 months. There's a few reasons I haven't. And actually, one of the times, I think I was eligible for it or whatever, but then there was something that it was like, but you've hit all the metrics, but you're not gonna. I can't remember what the reason was. There's things like that in YouTube people don't realise. Not everybody necessarily gets it. But for me, one thing I've never done, I've never had sponsors, I've never had adverts, because I just wanted it to be a real organic. I'm not in a rush to do stuff.
What's your reason for doing it, the podcast?
I think we've kind of covered it, really. It is, I mean, it started out initially, it was my cousin and I did it together, and we were training, so he's a personal trainer, and we used to be in the gym every day training. But what we realised is, as much as like the body was getting a workout, the mind was, because we would just be having chats, and we were both going. It was around that time we were going through a bad time. When I was about 27, he was going through, his marriage was breaking down, and we'd be having like deep chats about relationship, about women, about business, about fitness, and we just started saying like, this would make for a good podcast, but like, we're just two idiots from Bradford that know nothing. Like, wouldn't it be great if we brought different people on that we can selfishly learn from, but then also share that if other people want to listen? And it was just like you boys, in a way. Like, it is that thing of we just wanted to learn, meet cool people, and share that, and hopefully help others along the way. And my cousin now does his own, like, we're still really close. We're more like brothers and, cousins. But he now does a different podcast. I've still kept this one going. And we both have that same kind of mission today, all these years later.
Yeah, you probably started quite a long time ago. That's 5 years, right? 2019, doing a podcast.
Yeah, I can't believe how quick that's went. And then we broke a world record as well in 2020, I think it was, or 2021, which was the longest live audio stream. So we did 53 hours non-stop podcasting. Yeah.
How did that work?
What did you talk about sleeping? 53 hours?
Just you two without sleeping, no.
We had like different guests that would come on like Zoom, because it was like the lockdown era and all that stuff. Yeah. But yeah, 53 hours. And the reason we did it was, I think, a year after we'd officially launched. We were actually recording episodes for about 8 months or so before we launched it as well. Yeah. And then on the 1 year anniversary, we'd had some great guests, like some good downloads. People were loving it. And we were like, we need to do something mad. Yeah. Like, how do we do something big? Because we're all about success and pushing yourself and all that. And I just said, like, why don't we see what the world record is for, like, longest podcast? And my cousin was like, yeah, all right, we'll do that then. And we just...
Do you still hold that title?
Currently, yeah.
Let's break
hours,
it.
right?
Do it.
Sorry,
Let's
it's
pass
a-
on the baton. No, it's not fair. There's more of you. You've got an easier ride.
We've already
than
done
us.
an hour. Let's just carry
Yeah,
on.
just keep it going. Yeah. So
You must have been drained after that, right?
yeah, it was cool. Like, because people are like, they ask you questions about that, like mentally, how do you do something like that? And honestly, it's quite a good lesson for life. Is you take it 1 hour at a time. You have the goal. We want to get. I think the record at the time was 51 or 52 hours. So it's like the goal is get beyond that. You know that's where you're heading, but then you don't focus on that. You just focus on now, this hour. And with my cousin being a PT as well, he obviously quite understands about like the energy slumps and stuff like that. So what we did was, I think we went about the first 17 hours, something like that, where we just didn't eat. We just fasted the whole thing, just drank water. I think eventually at some point we might have brought maybe some caffeine in, I can't remember. And then when we ate, there was no carbohydrates. I think we just had chicken breasts and like broccoli. So again, to avoid these energy slumps, so that was a bit of a trick.
What point did you introduce the cocaine?
I mean, that was right at the beginning. That was the start. That was the real secret. By the way, it wasn't. There was no drugs. No children was harmed. No, it was.
That's crazy.
That was
That's
a good trick, really, is knowing about how your body reacts to energy slumps and stuff like that. But then
Preparation.
that first night, when you've done a full day talking like this, right? A full day, and then it gets to darkness, and then it gets to like, this is normally like when people will be watching telly and going to bed, and we're still going, and then it goes midnight, and then you're still going, and then we got to about 3 a.m. But this is still only the first day, right? And it was a weird place to be. It was like we were drunk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like proper delirious. We were saying random stuff. I remember there was a bit, because you were allowed like these 5-minute breaks. I don't know if it was, you could have a 5-minute break every couple of hours or something to go to have a wee or, go to the toilet. So we would save them up, and eventually we both got something like or it might have been 3 minutes. I can't remember. So we both got a 25-minute break, basically, in the 53 hours. And when my cousin, like, went for his break and he came back, I was interviewing a guy. I can't remember what he said, but it was just like saying something like, oh, when I was a kid and we used to play around the park. And my cousin just walked in looking like he was on drugs. He really did. And just went, park life. And just like, and I went, sorry about that. And he was like, hi. And it was like, none of us had drank alcohol or anything. But it was like, I was literally like, you're pissed. And it was just the tiredness. It was mad.
Isn't it? You start hallucinating and then shit.
Yeah.
Sleep
Really hard.
deprivation, isn't it?
It's weird what it does to you. But it's interesting as well, like, on the topic of sleep, how much we neglect sleep. Like, when you think about that, just 53 hours, which in the grand scheme of things is not crazy, and we look like we're drunk. And yet so many of us are living our lives sleep deprived. Yeah. Because we put, especially entrepreneurs, like, it's like, oh, sleep when I'm dead, hustle, grind, blah, 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 and all that nonsense. Which we've all done at some times, and sometimes you do kind of have to do it.
You was the worst for it, Luke.
Yeah. And I used to just, but like I found it so easy though to do. Like I was going to sleep at 3 and then getting up for work at like 6 or 7.
And felt fine.
I was working a lot, even like working till 3. So when you try and go to sleep, you can't even sleep properly because you're thinking about work. And I was doing it, and I was completely fine. And then, but now I'm like, how was I doing that? Like now I like to go to sleep for at least.
It's only been like the last 18 months, I think,
exactly,
we've actually started.
But it feels so much better because I think like you definitely make more mistakes when it's
right.
You definitely make more mistakes. I remember like late at night they would fuck up a few times in the morning. Like, oh, why did I do it that way? Like, if I just went to sleep, I probably would have done it faster in the first place.
Honestly, mate, and I've learned and I've researched so much about like the power of sleep, nutrition, whatever, and I just think it's such an important conversation to have. Like yes, we all go through those stages, and generally when we're younger, there's not that much damage done, sort of thing. But honestly, like I talk about now all the time when it comes to business, like you don't want to just be that busy fool, right? That's just working all the hours. It's about doing the right work, and it's about being focused. And what you want is you want good energy, you want to have clarity, you want to have focus, you want to feel good. And it's like sleep gives you all those things. When you're just working all the hours, at some point you're going to make mistakes. You're probably going to take longer to do stuff. It becomes counterproductive. And I had the same thing where I remember about 2014, something like that. I was like, I hadn't taken a holiday for years. I'd just be like, work. Because in my head, I was like, any week I take off, it's like the competition will get ahead. I was in that mindset. And then I went on a holiday to Mexico for 10 days. And then that changed everything. I was like, actually, I come back with more ambition. I feel so much better. And that was the beginning of me going, I need to prioritize rest. I need to prioritize sleep. And actually, you'll be better in your business for it.
100%.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
So what's the you've got an event that you've got coming up in July, is that correct?
Yeah, you boys need to get down. I think this is
you
going to be
mean?
your thing. Up north, yeah, of
Up,
course.
yeah.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Give us an overview. What is it?
It's in Leeds, so it's Sunday the 7th of July, I want to say, at the Hilton Hotel. It's called Enhance Your Brand. You can get the tickets on Eventbrite. Anybody that is entrepreneurial or that is like just maybe thinking they might want to try have a side hustle or whatever, because a lot of people that are in my community are not necessarily like business owners that have been going for 10 years. Like they're just
This is our community.
similar
audience,
demographic,
really.
yeah.
Definitely.
Just like they're working on themselves mindset and they're open to maybe side hustles, stuff like that. That is what we're all about. It's going to be like a full day event. We've got different guest speakers. We've got Lisa Johnson. She's a business strategist. Her kind of thing is she did £16 million in, I think it was 6 years. But her like humble beginnings, like started out with very little, living on a council estate, was nearly killed herself at one point, was suicidal, and then just turned the whole thing around as a working mum with twins that she had to bring up as a single mum. Like, you know what I mean? She's a really inspirational woman. So we've got her talking. We've got Dave, the sales angel. I know you guys know him. He's going to be there giving loads of advice when it comes to mindset and strategy around sales. And then we've got my friend Shabazz Ali. So Shabazz is known as Shabazz Says on TikTok. He's like known for being quite funny and stuff like that, but he's just blown up. So he's going to be talking about like social media and branding and stuff like that. So it's going to be a really good day. Some great speakers. And as much as there'll be value on stage, I think there'll be, as you guys will know, so much power in that room with the different people and business owners all coming together. My whole thing with what I do with Success School, which is like my podcast and membership and the events I do, is it's like I want us to learn from people who have done great stuff, who are inspirational, but they're not dickheads. Like, I don't want people with ego. And obviously we've all seen the ego ones out there with, Rolex watches, Lamborghinis in Dubai going like, buy my course and you can be like me. You're like, fuck off, mate. We've seen enough of that on Instagram now. And I think people are looking for real people. They don't all want to be millionaires, and that's okay, but they can still have a really good life and do stuff on their terms. So I think because of that, I've got a really mixed, cool community of people that are going to be there that, you just never know. There might be friends for life. There might be business partners out of it. So yeah, come on down, 7th of July. I think it's the 7th.
It's in Leeds.
It is, yeah.
In Leeds, yeah. In Leeds, Hilton Hotel.
How many people
It's
are you
definitely
hoping
the
to get?
7th, you say?
Definitely Sunday the 7th, yeah.
Sunday the 7th. Cheers for that. I've always got to have somebody. I'm terrible with my numbers and days. Yeah, so we've not really started properly promoting it yet, and I think we've sold over 60-odd tickets already, and I think it holds about 300, so...
Nice.
We've still got plenty of time, so we're going to push it, and hopefully we'll get about that, so... Good.
Decent. Nice. Other than that, what's your next moves? What are you going to be working on over the next 12 months? Anything specific in the pipeline?
More events. I think we'll do more events, growing my community and building the podcast. They're some of my main things. Obviously, my business is doing its thing with the live entertainment, and that's growing organically, which is great. But where the real passion is for me now, it is sort of more the mindset stuff and getting people together and communities and stuff like that. So doing more of that. But ultimately, boys, it's like for me now, it's just like every day, am I doing stuff that I enjoy? And obviously, like, I say that, and there's things you have to do that you don't enjoy, right? You've got to do your tax return. That's not fun. And yeah, I mean, it's not as thingy as that. But generally speaking, am I doing stuff on my terms as best as possible? Am I doing things that I feel other people benefit from and enjoy? And am I enjoying it? And I think a lot of my life, I wasn't. I was chasing those external goals of when I earn that money or when I've achieved that goal, then I'll be happy. And I think a lot of us that are entrepreneurial, we do that. Like, we put happiness off. We think, I'll be happy then, I'll sacrifice now for a better future. And it's a dangerous game to play, because if you're not careful, you won't ever get there. And then you'll just die and go, oh, shit, I think I missed out on life there.
Yeah.
So that's what I think of a lot. I think, don't miss out on life. Enjoy it now.
Good mindset to have.
What do you say is your number one winning habit that you've got, that you do?
Great question. I love that. Number one winning scares me because it like puts a lot of pressure on. It has to be the one, and I feel... Is this a question you ask all you guys?
Most of them, yeah, if we remember.
Yeah, well done. You remembered this week. For me, I have a saying, which is when you look after the basics look after you. And for me, that one habit might change, but as long as it's one of the basics, as in what I mean is it'll change with my schedule. So the basics for me are things like just get a good night's sleep or hydration or go out in fresh air, get some steps, anything like that. Those simple, easy to do stuff.
Food, water, sleep, exercise.
Get those things right and you're going to feel better. Now, sometimes I don't get the sleep right, but then I might just think I need to make sure I get my steps in today or I work on my nutrition. So that's why I said earlier, I like variety. My life changes. I do different stuff. So if I'm truthful, there isn't one habit I stick to 7 days a week, every day. But it's that thing of whenever you're struggling, whenever you feel overwhelmed, whenever you feel you're a bit like out of sync, just go back to basics. Pick one of them. Just like go, right, I need to sort my sleep out this week and I know I'll feel a bit better. And that's how I tend to live.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, perfect.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Oh, I don't want to get
These
told off.
mics.
Can I get my phone back now, please? Please let me out. Turn the lights off.
That was good.
Yeah,
Thank you
cheers,
very
man.
much, mate.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, man.
Yeah,
No, appreciate
yeah,
it.
cheers, man.